What's going on, folks? My name is JP, and you are listening to The 1265, a podcast 100% focused on the Green Bay Packers. Brought to you by allwisconsinathletics.com. All Wisconsin, all athletics, all the time. Joined by my right-hand man, Arrick. Arrick, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Just ready for some football as usual. We got Packers, Bears. Can't really ask for much more than that.
A bit of different scenery tonight as we record this. Speaking of different scenery, we got our first guest on the show, Burke Griffin. Burke, thanks for coming on. How you doing, man?
Boys, I am honored. I can't believe I'm your first guest.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we haven't. It's just been us two, and we've been doing it in, the spare bedroom of my house.
That's all right.
Our game room, so.
Hey, didn't Mark Barron start in his garage and he still has it there?
Probably.
He's got like one of the biggest podcasts there are. We'll see where you guys can run with it.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing where it can go. Hopefully this can spur on a couple other things, and yeah. So let's get talking a little bit. We didn't do a show last week because it was the bye week. Let's talk a little bit about what happened during the bye week. Mike McCarthy got an extension. What do you think about that?
I've been saying, like I said, I've been saying it since last year that I don't know how this wasn't done sooner. The guy, he's one of the better coaches in the NFL, I think. His record speaks for itself. I think he's 40 games over 500 right now. It's pretty good.
What about you, Burke?
Well, I think it was a matter of time, as you guys obviously talked a little bit about right there. You look back at training camp. I mean, Ted Thompson's thing didn't come out of the blue, but it sort of shocked people at that moment, like, hey, we're starting training camp. Oh, Ted gets an extension? Yeah. And then Jordy Nelson signs his deal right at the beginning of training camp. I think everybody knows that between Mark Murphy, Ted Thompson, and Mike McCarthy, the Packers have been one of the most successful teams in the NFL. They've got one Super Bowl to their credit already. They've got multiple playoff appearances. And I think keeping that continuity, and now that Rodgers has that huge deal, I mean, and he's locked up. I mean, for the next 5 years, realistically, your top three people in your organization, your GM, your coach, and your quarterback are all locked up and on the same page. And that can only bode well for Packer fans.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to look at it too, and that's kind of like what they had back in the day with Wolf, Holmgren, and Favre. They had that amazing trio too for a little bit.
And that's all like you said, all three guys, McCarthy, Thompson, and Rodgers, are all under contract until 2018.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the year.
I like how they coincide.
2018 is going to be kind of like the big year, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
I think 2018 preseason, Rodgers is going to have to come up with another like relaxed speech or whatever, because fans are just going to go nuts about that.
Well, and I think one thing you can add to this, maybe Julius Peppers will start playing like Reggie White.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. We'll really get a throwback.
Then you've got a fearsome foursome all at the top for quite some time.
Yeah. I like that. Speaking of extensions, a guy who hasn't gotten his yet, but, I mean, why not? Randall Cobb. Why do you think they've been holding out so long about that?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think he's back. I'll say that. I've said it every week, and I'll continue to say it. I don't think they use him probably the way they should. You know, he's just, I don't know that this is the offense for him. So I don't know why they haven't done it yet. I don't see it happening. Maybe, a one-year deal kind of thing, but I don't know. Go
into that, do you think they just put all their eggs in one basket in Jordy and like using developmental with Devontae and Aberderis?
Jeff Janis.
Okay.
I mean, you don't draft three receivers for no reason.
Yeah, exactly, in one draft.
Yep.
What about you, Burke? What do you think about Cobb?
I think it was, you mentioned the guys they picked up, all are unproven. Mm-hmm. You know what you have with Randall Cobb. You don't know what you have with Jeff Janis. You don't know what you have with Jared Aberderis. Devontae Adams has already shown that the dude can play.
Yeah.
Took him a little while to get going, but I think that's the rookie curve, regardless of if you're a first-round pick or a seventh-round guy like a Donald Driver type. I think Randall Cobb, injury-wise, I think he's mostly back. I think all you have to do is look at the Bears' first game and what he did earlier in the season. I think teams now, and I kind of agree, with Arrick on this, I think they're not utilizing him the way they should. I think they should run him in motion more. I think they should bring him out of the backfield sometimes in motion, put him in different slot matchups, and create different situations where he may have a linebacker on him or a safety, because we've seen that usually ends badly for an opposing defense. Yeah. I think Randall Cobb has far more upside than either James Jones or Greg Jennings, who was coming off surgery. coming off an injury, didn't quite know what you were going to have long term. Both those guys were getting up there in age. And when Randall Cobb got here, he was one of the youngest players in the NFL. He still is a young guy, 23 years old, 24 years old. Is he going to command $8, $9, $10 million a year? I don't, on the open market, unless the team is desperate and they have deep pockets. I don't know if he does. But if you can do something similar to what Jordy Nelson got in terms of length and total money, I think you keep him around. That's my opinion.
And go ahead.
Yeah, I think that would make Rodgers a really happy man to know that he's got Cobb and Nelson for the next multiple years.
Well, the big thing that I thought about is we all know how Ted Thompson loves his draft picks. Is he going to let a 24-year-old former second-round draft pick get away? That's the other part of that.
No, instead he's going to hang on to Derek Sherrod and Justin Harrell for all these years, and then Randall Cobb. Yeah,
hey,
can go.
They cut the cord. They cut the cord on Derek. I mean, listen, they gave the kid as many chances as he could.
As nice as guy as you'll ever meet.
Yep.
But
that doesn't cut it in the NFL, though.
I know.
No.
But
doesn't cut
Randall
it in
Cobb,
any business.
No. But about Randall Cobb, I agree. He's not being utilized well. He's the best, I think, when out of the screen, and you let him make the play. Randall Cobb's not the kind of guy, like barring Chicago last year going into the playoffs, he's not the kind of guy that's going to just go over the top on defenses. He's the guy you give 15-yard passes to. He's going to make his own plays. And I haven't really seen that. He's a Percy Harvin type of player.
Yeah.
It's a different attitude, obviously, seeing what happened with Harvin, but, just a great ball player all along.
And I don't know why they've gone away from, I don't know what formation it is, but when Cobb's basically the running back.
Oh, I love
it
that.
It seems to work for 8 to 15 yards every time they do it, and they just haven't been.
He's got that burst out of the backfield.
I don't know why they've gone away from that. But
we talked about the offense a little bit. Let's go to defense. Something that's been bugging me lately is the middle linebacker position. You got A.J. Hawk, who's been there forever, since Christ, and then you got that second position that since Nick Barnett. It went to, Desmond Bishop. Then it was, who?
Brad Jones.
Jamari but there was a guy in the middle of there, too. Went to the Chargers. I forget his name. DJ Smith.
Yeah, DJ
He
Smith,
played for a little bit. And then, but now you got Jones, Barrington, and Lattimore switching around a little bit.
Can't really have that at inside linebacker.
No.
And guys.
My question is, do you think it's just a matter of McCarthy and Thompson trying to see who's going to get the hot hand? But I don't think they're giving him enough time to get the hot hand. But what are your thoughts on that position?
It's a disaster.
It's bad. Yeah.
I don't know if I would have stuck with probably Lattimore. I would have just gotten Brad Jones out of there as quick as I can, and maybe give Sam Barrington some time in there. And but right now, that's as we enter. Once you get into the off-season stuff, I know it's never too early to really look at it, but that's probably the main thing right there is inside linebacker. If they don't, that's what I think they need this year, or this coming up draft, is an inside linebacker.
What do you think, Burke?
Well, I think the old cliche, and I know coaches say it all the time, especially when it comes to the quarterback position, when you say you got 3 quarterbacks, that means you don't have any. Mm-hmm. And a guy like Jamari Lattimore, he seized the position after Brad Jones got hurt. Then he got injured, messed up his neck a little bit, was out of the lineup. Sam Barrington's come on. They've given him opportunities. And I think there's a definite need. When they talk about drafting and they say, we don't draft for need, we draft the best. No.
Yeah, best
We've
player
seen
available.
That. Hey, a couple drafts ago when they drafted 6 straight defensive players. Mm-hmm. You draft sometimes for need. And the best player available at that position becomes your guy. Do I think they've been played poorly? No. But the decision needs to be made, and I think you kind of just have to stick with it. As that Brad Jones train left the station, athletic guy, decent player, probably not the long-term answer in any way, shape, or form.
They gave him all that money.
They gave him money. I know that's the problem, and sometimes those are the mistakes that GMs face.
And when you look back on it, a guy that a lot of people wanted, and I was kind of iffy on both of them, Ryan Shazier and C.J. Mosley. They're both doing pretty good right now. So I'm not saying we got our guy, I think, in Clinton Dix. So you can't. But really
for this year, I look at it this way: with this year with Micah Hyde playing, nobody thought Micah Hyde would be this good at safety. Yeah. I thought he was going to be good.
I think Burnett's kind of
him and Burnett's got this comeback player of the year thing about him, where he's just having a monster year. He's making huge tackles and plays. If you knew that going in the offseason, I think you draft Mosley over Clinton Dix.
Well, and let me bring up something there. Morgan Burnett was, taking a beating last year.
Yeah.
Look who played next to him. M.D. Jennings and Jerron McMillan. You see what happens when you have complementary players to make you that much better. And you see that depth in the secondary. There's no question about it.
And it could be a little bit of competition pushing all the guys, too. Mm-hmm. You never know. But it took Burnett a little bit to get going, the last couple of years. But what about Lacey? He's not really getting going this year. He's not Eddie of last year. I don't know if that has to do with Rodgers being back or what do you think, man?
He's been a little bit better as of late, which didn't have a whole lot to top from before. So, but anyway, I just think I don't know what it is. I really don't. I thought at first, maybe offensive line, but I don't know that that's it either. Yeah.
Well, I think when you look recently, he was having a great game against the Saints before the bye week. And then it was clear in the second half when they had to play catch up, they had to get away from running the football. And if you look at the games where he's played well, they've played against poor defenses. When they played against the Jets and they played against teams with stout front sevens, they've struggled. Maybe people are kind of look. They say secondary and O-line. They were so deep. Maybe they're not that deep on the offensive line. Brian Balaga got hurt. He came back. He's been okay. Mm-hmm. Josh Sitton is all right. TJ Lang's pretty good. They got a rookie in Corey Lindsley at center. David Bakhtiari's at left tackle. And now they got both of their guards hurt. So depending on how the big toe is on Josh Sitton, and then you look at TJ Lang with the ankle, if you've got to go with
Lane Taylor,
and then all of a sudden J.C. Treader, who's coming off injury and hasn't played, and another rookie.
Him at a position that he's really not. I guess center is kind of his position.
And and they're in the interior, but then all of a sudden Jared Allen's back in the mix for Chicago. They might, and not that this Bears defense is not that great. They're not, but they could have their hands full Sunday night.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And you just don't want to say it, but you don't want history to repeat itself. And this is the best case scenario for Bears fans seeing our line beat to shit. Yeah. And you're just going to see these guys coming off, and it'll be interesting. But hopefully they can all be like Corey Lindsley, who's my Packer Rookie of the Year this year so far. He's been holding his own. Yep. It's been insane. But going back to that Saints game, I think where Lacey shined the most was that screen game. And those short passes. Lacey was making his own plays like a Randall Cobb would. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you got this big freight train coming from 5 yards deep. What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. I had him in fantasy. I had a good game. I liked it. I was digging it. Another team I had in fantasy was the Packers defense, which didn't do me so good. The Packers run defense. They made Mark Ingram look like Adrian frickin' Peterson.
I think they did fall back. For whatever stats are worth. I think they did fall back to 32nd because I think Cleveland had a...
They are. No, they're dead last.
Oh, yeah, they were 31 for a little bit.
No, 150 yards a game. Yeah, they're the worst run defensive team in the NFL. That just says it right there. Yeah. And I think there's a couple parts to it. And, Mike McCarthy talked about run fits and just being able to beat your man and being in the right place at the right time. They're not beating their men. No. One-on-one battles, they're losing.
And you think that goes back to our middle linebacker talk about no consistency there? You got a guy rotating in and out. The defensive line, they're looking okay, but they're not really getting in there like they should. And
I think one thing you guys got to, missing B.J. Raji hurts.
It's huge.
B.J. Raji was a stud. Yeah. I don't care if they said he had a down year, his tackles are down. He's not a guy who's supposed to get tackles in that defense.
Right. Nope, he's a guy that's supposed to fill it up so the guys from the outside can come in, stuff like that.
Mike Daniels has been pretty decent, and he had a great year last season, but you haven't heard his name a whole lot lately. Yeah, Latroy Guion. Josh Boyd. Good, solid players. Are they difference makers, though? No.
Not at this moment, no.
And they could be, but they haven't been.
The star of the defense has obviously been, guys like Julius Peppers.
Yeah.
A guy like that coming off. How many times do you see him hitting the quarterback? And I hope I see him hit Cutler Sunday. But
where's Clay Matthews?
Yeah. But that argument comes up a lot. And people are like, well, where's Clay Matthews and everything? But then I see the other side of it. They're like, oh, well, he's dropping back. He's doing this. He's opening it up for other guys. I don't really see that either, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I watched the Blu-ray DVD the other day.
Yeah,
the Super Bowl Blu-ray DVD. I watched it, and I watched a Clay Matthews that had 6 sacks in 3 games. Yep. In the first 3 games, he was on pace to set all these records and shit.
I don't know about you, but I don't want my leading scorer passing the ball.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is in basketball, I don't want the guy who's the playmaker, the claymaker.
Yeah.
I don't want that guy deferring to someone else and having. I don't want him covering the tight
exactly.
end. I don't want him covering a running back out of the backfield. I want him getting after the quarterback.
Every play, every snap, he needs to
play.
be coming off the side.
I thought that was the biggest thing because we all thought, with the signing of Peppers, that you're going to have Peppers and Matthews coming off the ends, and how great of a pass rush that is. Well, where has that been?
But we've seen it a couple times. There have been a couple times where you see it and you're like, oh, okay, here it is, it's clicking, it's clicking. Then the next play, they get run up the middle or off the side. It's like, what the hell are you guys doing? You know what I mean? But I think that also goes back to like Mike Daniels, BJ Raji not being able to open up holes maybe.
Yeah.
I still think a guy as physical and crazy looking as Clay Matthews should be able to make his own plays, though. Really.
Yeah.
So where do you put the run defense, though?
Dead last.
I know the 32nd, but where do you put the blame? Do you think it's that linebacker? Or do you think it's just a mix of all that?
The thing is, I'd like to see, it seems like every run that the opposing team has, every run is at least 5 yards minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum 5 yards. That you cannot have that.
And you watch the DBs; they're not playing 10 yards back every time, so they should be able to swarm in there, but they shouldn't have to. I don't know. It's just frustrating to watch a guy like Ingram play like Adrian Peterson.
Right.
Who, by the way, according to everything else, I guess he's gonna be coming
sooner than later.
According to a couple sources. Yeah, we'll see about that. But going into Chicago, I didn't see much happen against the Saints in injury-wise. A couple guys went down, but what do you have for that? So, yeah, we got a couple injury updates here. Let's go to MD Arrick Upton here. What do you got for me, man?
Pretty healthy Packers team as of right now. Just Josh Sitton and TJ Lang, the only two guys not practicing. TJ Lang has that hamstring injury. And then Josh Sitton with a big toe injury, which I guess it happened in the Saints game.
Tore a ligament there in the Saints game, and said he played the rest of the game and heard something pop. Mike McCarthy said both will be full go. Not full go. He said they're gamers. Yeah. They don't need to practice this week. They're big linemen. They can get out there. And I think Lang's deal is actually his ankle.
What did I say?
I think he said hamstring.
But, okay.
But either way, it's a lower leg, upper leg, something in the leg.
What do we got about Sam Shields? Anything?
He's
good to go. He's good to go. Awesome.
Burnett and Dayton Jones.
Because I tell you what, you're going to need those DBs against Alshon, Brandon, and Martellus Bennett.
Yeah.
How's Bears defense look, though? Or Bears team?
They were pretty healthy, too. While their receiver, the only guy that I guess they're really going to be without is the receiver, Marcus Wilson. I guess they kind of already rolled him out for the most part. And then just a backup linebacker.
So they're full go, we're full go. This is going to be a good one.
Both teams coming off a bye week, so that does help a little bit.
I hope it's one of those mean, nasty Packer Bear games.
Those are fun to watch, that's for sure.
So, talking about Green Bay and Chicago. So, we got Green Bay, Chicago, NFL's best rivalry, argued by many, but won by very few, except for us Packer and Bears fans. So, what do you see going on in Chicago, Green Bay?
Again, it'll be another tough game. Packers-Bears always is. Two teams that just don't like each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's football, I think, though. So, you see, this is one of the games you usually circle on your calendar. Once the schedule comes out, that's the first thing I look for. When do the Packers and Bears play? When are the matchups? And an interesting note is that this is the 9th year in a row that the Packers and Bears have had a game on prime time. So, for whatever that's worth,
it's deserving.
And the Packers have won 10 out of the last 12 matchups against the Bears. So, another good stat for the Packers on that end.
Burke, you've covered a lot of sports in your time. What do you think about the Packers-Bears rivalry as opposed to like Ravens-Steelers, Browns-Bengals, Patriots-Jets?
I think it's the oldest. I think they've played more games than anyone else. I think when you say names like Curly Lambeau and George Halas and Vince Lombardi and Mike Ditka and Walter Payton and Harlan Huckleby and Paul Odd-Caruth and it's a joke, by the way.
Marty Booker?
Sanjay Beach. I think it is clearly the NFL, and I think that's part of the reason Eric. I mean, he brought up the luster of having these two teams from the old monsters of the Midway.
Yeah.
I mean, it has national appeal, even though it is a small market. Now, Chicago is not. Chicago is the third biggest market in the country. You can talk Cowboys, Eagles, Cowboys, Redskins. If you want to go out west and try and find some of the Chiefs and the Chargers and some of the long old AFL, whatever rivalry you want to put in there NFL-wise, this is Red Sox, Yankees.
Yeah, this is
There is nobody in the same tier. There's a bunch of rivalries, and you could go Steelers, Ravens, Browns, Bengals, all these other. I mean, is really Buffalo, Miami, Buffalo, New England. Does anybody really care about those games?
Yeah.
I mean, and you like the NFC South. Are you really going to tell me? I know Carolina and New Orleans don't like each other, and that's a rivalry. But does it? They're not even. There is no comparison.
Well, like Colts, Texans. Yeah, exactly.
There is no
There's
comparison.
no comparison.
And that's not just being a homer. And that's the reason they're on national TV.
Mm-hmm. 9
As
years
much
ago.
as they are. Even when they weren't that good. Think of the early 90s. I mean, from the Halloween game, in the rainstorm.
Yeah.
I mean, Bears, Packers. I mean, Robert Brooks' 99-yard touchdown pass. Monday Night Football. I mean, there's a reason that people love this rivalry.
Yeah, they set the stage, definitely. And, you look at the past, 10 Bears-Packer games. How many of them have been blowouts? I don't think any.
None.
I don't think any of them.
A couple of them we got.
Case for the one this
This
year,
last one,
the
got
second
out of
half.
hand.
Yeah, right.
But every time the Bears and Packers play, it feels like there's so much more on the line. You got NFC Championship 2010. You have the game before that where if the Bears lose, they let us in. We get in.
Yeah.
We beat them to get to the Super Bowl. It's all dramatic. Everything's cool. Last year, to get into the playoffs, we got to go through Chicago. Aaron Rodgers returns. Randall Cobb. Oh my God! You know what I mean?
You couldn't script that.
No, but there's so much.
And how about the drama of just over a year ago?
Yeah, Rodgers
The
getting
Bears
hurt.
come here and Rodgers breaks his collarbone and he's out. I mean,
They got the upper hand there, but it's always something with these two teams. And
and that's NFL. That's good for the NFL. It's
Charles Martin body slamming Jim McMahon. I mean, what was Walter Payton getting sent over the bench in the 80s?
What do you think Roger Goodell would do right now if Clay Matthews picked up Cutler and just slammed him on the 50? I mean,
Hey, Bears fans would probably be happy.
Yeah, they'd be happy. Who is their backup even? Do you guys know?
from Notre Dame, Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah, Jimmy
Is
Clausen.
it really?
Yeah.
That sucks for them. Yeah.
Well, we said we said that, or I don't know if it was you, but when Cutler signed that extension, I was extremely happy to have Jay Cutler sign a 7-year 7-year extension. How many times has he not thrown a pick or two against the Packers?
But you know what? Going back to that though, Urlacher has been known to take a pick from Rodgers every game and Favre
Yeah.
every
Always got
game.
Favre, yeah.
But Woodson's been Cutler's kryptonite. So
Shields
you know what I
is
mean?
getting out.
You stole that line from my Tuesday night.
Did I
show.
really?
I
Did you
said,
say
yeah,
that?
I did. You were
Did you
probably in
really?
line getting an autograph. I said, Jay Cutler's kryptonite is green and gold, and it's the Packers defense.
Well, I threw number 21 in there. So I was probably 6 beers in at that time as well.
Same old Jay.
Same old
Same
Jay, man.
old Jay.
Smoking Jay Cutler.
Greatest quote by Woodson ever.
But, you got to watch out, too, with this Packers defense being as, shady as it is right now.
No,
you don't
it's-
want Matt Forte to be running up the middle. And then, because you got to plug up the middle, get Forte or the outsides or whatever, and then that just opens up stuff for Jeffrey. Martellus Bennett had how many yards against this last game,
He had a good game.
So it's kind of...
I think Matt Forte will have a pretty decent game Sunday night. That's just how it usually works.
He's ranked 7th in the league right now in rushing. He's a quiet competitor.
Oh yeah.
I never would have thought DeMarco Murray would be number one.
Right.
Setting records like this. But from an outsider's point of view, if you look at it and you're like, dude, how are the Bears not undefeated right now?
Yeah.
If you look at them on paper, that offense is just the best in the league. Clearly not the case when you got
What did Brandon
same
Marshall
old Jay.
What did Brandon Marshall
quarterback.
say about 100 times? His interview, he was saying this is what he kept saying.
Oh, I know you're saying
Unacceptable.
something about this is unacceptable.
Said
This is
that 100
unacceptable.
times,
Yeah,
And
him
that's
and
true.
Jay
That's
Cutler
as true
fighting
as-
in the
that's
locker
as
room.
true as it. Very true.
Maybe
That's what
that
he's
just
saying.
also goes to show you that their offensive line is not that good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, yeah.
and when Jay gets pressured at all, he makes dumb decisions. And their defense, that's what their calling card was, their defense for years.
Yeah.
And they can't rely on their defense either. I mean, the Packers thrashed them for 38 points and in that first game.
Yep.
And, I think 42 against the Vikings was their other, dominating. And then Carolina obviously was a great offensive game for them. But they're a completely different Bears team. But you're right, they have the skill position players to be better than 3 and 5.
It's just so different that the Bears defense is not, one of the best defenses in the NFL. I remember that. Always the Bears, top defense you're afraid of. Now, not
nobody fears them.
Yep.
So here's the question I got for you guys: if the Bears are going to win, what's their key? What's their key to beating the Packers? How are they going to do it?
Well, you can't stop Aaron Rodgers, but contain him, I should say. Contain Aaron Rodgers. Don't let him throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, which he seems to do against the Bears. So, contain Jordy Nelson is another thing that they've got their hands full. Any team playing the Packers really has their hands full. When you got Nelson and Cobb, and then when Lacey's right,
Devontae.
The only way the Bears beat the Packers is if Shea McClellan falls on Aaron Rodgers at his shoulder again.
Yeah.
Man, God forbid Matt Flynn comes in. What do you think the keys are going to be to Green Bay winning? What does Green Bay got to do?
Just do what they've been doing offensively. Again, add a little bit of a run game, and I think you're fine. That Bears defense, as we just said, is not very good. So if you can, their pass defense more so is not very good either. Well, it's not good at all. So if anytime you have Aaron Rodgers going against, we saw it when he playing against the Jets, who had a pretty bad pass defense. Look what he did.
Mm-hmm. He did against the Vikings. What do you think,
Vikings,
Burke? How does Green Bay win this game?
I think you keep Matt Forte under 4 yards of carry, force Jay Cutler to beat you, and he won't. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah,
I
think it's as simple as that.
Narrow it down to
Yep.
be Jay and you. It's you and Jay out on the court.
Yeah.
All right. Can we get a prediction out of you guys tonight?
I'm not
Official
a prediction guy, as we know.
Let's get it, Eric.
I'm going to say I will go Packers 27, Bears 21. It'll be closer. Well, I mean, it's Packers-Bears, so it's usually always close, but it'll be close. It'll be a good game, a good fought game. I think Rodgers has a pretty good game.
You think this is one of those ones that comes down to the fourth like that? Like every other game?
It'll probably be one that comes down to the later part of the game. But, 27-21 Packers.
Burke, what do you got?
I think it's going to be a little more lopsided than that. I think Packers run away with it 34-17, close first half, but, I think Green Bay's just the better outfit. And I think they could move to 6-3. I think people start calling for Trestman's head, and all of a sudden the Bears are 3-6 and they're toast.
Do you think there's a big brawl in the locker room with Cutler and Marshall? Or?
No. Well, and that's another thing to add on that. If the
Does
Bears,
Cutler really care? He's got
I don't think so.
He's got a ton of money and a super hot wife.
Yeah, his wife is
I mean,
banging.
really? I mean, he doesn't care. If he wins or loses, he's getting
He's
paid.
going to light up a smoke on the way out anyway. So.
That's another
Have
thing.
you seen those?
I've seen that. Smoking Jay Cutler. That's great, actually.
I don't know if I wonder if that's true, though. I've always wondered that. Like,
I don't know how you can be an NFL quarterback and smoke.
No, I don't think he does. I think it was just a meme.
Yeah.
Like it was an internet
It's just
meme.
well,
They did it because of the way he purses his lips, and he just looks kind of like tries to be all cool. Like he's always, he's always too cool.
So many people just seem to think. I don't know. I mean, it's.
I will say this: I remember being out in the bars and having a few way back in the mid '90s, late '90s. You'd be surprised at the Super Bowl team of '96 how many Packer players smoke cigarettes.
I could imagine.
You would be amazed.
Yeah.
I'm going to go along the lines of Burke here. I'm going to go Green Bay 28, and I'm going to go Chicago 14. I think
Packer defense, huh?
Yeah.
I think, I really do. I
Finally show something.
I think that Clay and Julius, like we were talking about earlier, I think they get it clicking. I think we have a big game out of Mike Daniels. Quote me on that. I think Mike Daniels turns it on. Prime time against Chicago. I think having Sam Shields back is going to be huge, especially with Jeffrey and Marshall going. And I think Clinton Dix comes up big in this game. For some reason, my magic crystal ball tells me Clinton Dix is going to do something.
Can't argue with that. Yeah, and another thing to add on to that, if Chicago would fall to 3-6, they're done.
They're done.
You got to win
Absolutely.
out. The only way you're making it is if you win out.
Yeah. And if you got
there are going to be a ton of teams in the NFC that are 9-7, 10-6, and
like Arizona
11-5.
last year,
That are going to. I mean, Who knows who those 2 wild card spots go to?
All
You
we
could
gotta
not
do,
predict right now.
All we got to do is keep winning and beat the Lions at the end of the year.
We're good. You could
know?
easily say Chicago's the most underperforming team.
Oh,
though,
absolutely!
By far.
Like we were
It's just-
saying, yeah.
The Bears should not be 3-5 fighting for their season this
No,
week.
and you look at their defense, and I mean, you could put it on the defense, but their offense also isn't putting up as many points as they should. So that's our picks. Burke, let's get to know you a little bit. How did you get to where you are, man? What's
Luck.
the story? Luck?
Luck and more luck.
'Cause as you know, Eric and I, we're 2 guys that are trying to do something with this. We're starting out, it's a little bit of fun, and
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
like-
but we
No.
also look at it as work, and
Luck, like they say, luck is sometimes preparation meeting opportunity. And, you know, I grew up in the state of Wisconsin. Racine is where my roots are. Went to high school at Racine Case, played football, wrestled a little bit, did some track, threw the shot and disc, even golfed one year as a freshman just for the fun of it because it was cheap. It was $1 a day, and I thought, heck, I'm going to go do this as a freshman. I can't play baseball. I went to UW Oshkosh, played football there in the early 90s. We were awful, terrible teams. And best season out of 5, because I redshirted one year, I think we were 5-5. But I learned a lot. And, you know, when I got there, I was a double major. I was business and communications. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I remember distinctly during a game my senior year of high school, we were blowing out Milwaukee Bayview. And it was like 31-0 at halftime. And real quick into the third quarter, our coach took out the starters, and me and a couple guys were sitting on the bench. And so I just started doing some play-by-play just for the fun of it, of our team. And one of my buddies says, "Dude, you're actually pretty good at that." and this is back then. They didn't have the technology classes. This is before the internet. They didn't have video departments in high schools or colleges. But I had watched football. I loved football. My older brother was a big influence. Played sports, and it just, you know, I got to the point in college where I sort of knew by my second year when you got to determine your major. I thought, I want to do something I like. And so I got into radio, TV, film down there. They've got a great, this isn't a promo for them, but if you look around the state of Wisconsin and other places, the amount of guys who are in this field who graduated from UW Oshkosh, it's a ton. They had their own studio. I mean, their studio is bigger than the one you guys toured here at our station at CBS in Green Bay. They had tons of equipment. They had shows that we would do, and they'd say, look, here, grab some gear. Friday we're doing a newscast. Come up with a story once a week. And because I played football in the fall, my primary TV and radio stuff was all in baseball and basketball. I would call men's and women's hoops games. I would call the baseball team. And this is back in the day, and if there's some local people around here, Tim Jorgensen was one of the stars on the team. Jared Washburn was their star pitcher. Drafted in the second round, World Series champ for the Angels. Yeah. Tim Jorgensen from Luxembourg was the D3 Player of the Year, still holds the career home run record. So I got to do some great, like 30, and when I say he had like 33 home runs in a season or something, and like 90. Wow. I mean, it's not even close. He was just inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, like all college, D1, D2, and D3. And Washburn, I mean, the dude put together a sick 10-plus year career, made millions of dollars, threw the ball 92 as a lefty in Division III. Yeah, and he's from a little tiny town up in the Northwoods. But so I got some really good opportunities there. And Kathy Bennett, Dick Bennett's daughter, was the basketball coach when I was there. And their women's team went to the Final Four and won a national title there too. So I got a little bit of exposure and taste of it there. Jumped in, got to Green Bay, started working at one of the other stations in news, overnights, editing, $6 an hour, literally ground up. And courtroom with a camera, interviewing guys on road construction on the weekends. And I got a job here in the fall of 95. They had an opening for a camera guy. And it was all sports all the time, no insurance, part-time, but I was still working 50, 60 hours. And I jumped in. I got super lucky in terms of timing. I mean, NFC Championship game against the Cowboys. They lost that one. The following year, they win the Super Bowl. They go to another Super Bowl the following season. 98, another playoff run. Holmgren era ends. Downtime during Rhodes. Sherman's thing. 4 playoff runs, I believe, there. Down again, then back to McCarthy. And I've just kind of done it all. I mean, I've gone from editing to writing to producing to being a reporter, filling in as an anchor, starting to anchor, became the weekend guy, and then now I'm finally the sports director here. And you know, it's pretty cool when you love what you do on a daily basis. Yeah. Hours suck, I can tell you that. But there's times when I tell myself, well, would I probably be at this game anyway, even if I worked a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? Probably. What would I be doing on a Friday night? I might be at a high school football game. Yeah. I might be at that big game in hoops. Yeah. I'd be at the GB Wisconsin game. Yeah. Or I'd be watching stuff on TV. And so, while I can't enjoy the full Sunday party tailgate, pounding beers with all you guys in the parking lot experience, I still get to do my thing and then, maybe meet you guys out after.
Right. We'll send you a couple photos this Sunday, Burke.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the story, man. That was really
That's
good.
That's kind of what it was. And like I said, like any business you're in, I don't care if you're, picking up garbage or if you're the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, you got to work hard at it. Yeah. And I feel like I have. I mean, I can be on cruise control on your show here. Yeah. We're just 2-3 guys BSing about football. Mm-hmm. I like this. This isn't a 3-minute format.
Exactly.
I'm not locked into 21 minutes with 9 minutes of commercials. You can just go. And hey, I'm honored to be the first podcast guest.
Yeah, we're honored to have you, man. And how this came about, we're just sitting there after his show Locker Room, which you can catch on Tuesdays on CBS. But we were just sitting there after the show just BSing a little bit, and he'd say, hey, you guys still doing that podcast? And we're like, yeah. I look at Eric looks at me, he's like, yeah, well, how would you guys feel if I was on it one time? we're just playing it cool. We're like, yeah, dude, that'd be cool. Sure, man, And then he's like, okay, yeah, come down to the studio Thursday, 6 o'clock. We're like, oh, shit just got real. All right, cool. So
it didn't get all that real.
No.
It was fun.
But it's awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's great. You can follow us, all of us, All Wisconsin Athletics, at AllWiscoATH on Twitter. You can follow my man Burke Griffin here, host a Locker Room with Amon Green, at Burke Griffin. Arrick Upton, at Arrick Upton. No relation to Kate Upton.
We still don't know that.
I'm pretty sure there's no relation, man. And you can follow us.
And she's a sports chick.
She is.
Yeah. Isn't it the Justin Verlander? And then who else? There was another guy. Wasn't she dating some other sports star?
I'm just focusing
all I know
on
is
two things with that girl, man. That's all.
The Antarctica photo shoot from the swimsuit edition. Yeah. Good. Really?
You can follow Eric, like I said, at Arrick Upton. Follow us both at Eric's Packer Report on Facebook. Follow myself. Don't know why you'd want to, but sometimes I got some goofy shit to say on Twitter. At Mr. Paradise 24. That's all we got for you. Thank you for listening, and go Pack Go.